masculinity. It's one of those words that instantly stirs up emotions. For some, it's about protection, resilience, and providing. For others, it brings up pressure, silence, or even pain. Now, as a woman, I have noticed, listeners, that masculinity often feels like both a shield and a prison for men. Something that gives strength, but sometimes it denies vulnerability. So, in this conversation on Mind Over Masculinity with your host, Sana, I want us to slow down and really explore what does masculinity mean today? Beyond the cliches, beyond the expectations, what happens when men lose everything? And what do they rebuild when they rise again? My guest, he knows this journey firsthand. After losing everything during the 2008 financial collapse while raising six children under the age of four, he had to dig deep, not just to rebuild his business, but to reimagine his entire life in there. A Marine, a champion boxer, a black belt, and now a best selling author and coach. He has turned hardship into wisdom. So, listeners, let's talk openly about masculinity and all that comes with it with my incredible guest, Richard Walsh. Richard, welcome to the show, and it is really, really an honor to have you here with us.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Absolutely. Richard, what a journey. I'm really, really honored to have you here to share your journey, your insights, your thoughts around masculinity. So let's start with your uh, kind of lows in there. Especially, you have lived through massive loss, and you had to rebuild everything from you had to start from scratch. How did that experience challenge your own sense of masculinity?
Well, like you said, I've got six kids under four at the time. I lost everything, meaning that I remember November 5th of 2008, I lost $500,000 on that day. That was the beginning of the cliff, right? And that just continued to roll. I'm like, it's over. You just had that sense, that overwhelming sense, like, I don't think we're going to recover from this. I've
Mhm,
been in business 20 years at this time. I was the best at what I did. Right, I was an internationally recognized steel sculptor too, right? I'm
mhm,
building custom water features, I'm doing all this stuff, I'm like, "This is who I was," right? So the first key in this was my identity had become what I do, okay? And this is really important for the masculinity aspect for men in general. If you talk to guys when they meet each other, one of the first things we ask is, "What do you do?" Right? It's
mhm,
always about your work, and it that's identity, right? So we attach ourselves to that identity. So that aspect of identity and what I did, I'm like, well, this is gone now. 20 years building this. I mean, I've been on TV and radio and publications, magazines, I've been in all this stuff, and now it's over, like in a snap. So I had to realize, like, well, what am I going to do? But the first thing I realized was the first thing I have to do is never let what I do become who I am, okay? Because when it does, here's the thing, the reason why the business really collapsed was even though things were constricting,
mhm.
I have to maintain my identity, which is my business, so you start making really bad decisions. Anything to keep the boat afloat,
Yeah.
right? Whatever you gotta do, and that's what really took it down because of the final decisions I made trying to maintain my identity. When, if I didn't have that aspect, it would have been a whole different I could have saved it. I could have done different things, right? I had the right advisors telling me to do those things. But because my identity was wrapped up in that, that caused the real failure. So from there, you really have to like, "And now what? I lost my home, I lost my business. I've got kids, like I gotta start over, I gotta leave, I gotta move." Pack up the family and go find a place to rent and live and try to begin again, and what does that look like? So, that kinda brings it up to speed, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, Richard. Absolutely. And before I say anything, I think something that really sparked up a question within me is you mentioned that these things were kind of, told to you, something that you kind of, absorbed into creating that identity of yours, your identity as a man. um, which is equivalent to your worth, uh, of how successful you were or your ability to provide. Is it something? And I think this is so. I notice, I sometimes notice that men, they tie their worth to this. They get questioned how much you earn. Okay, you earn a lot. Okay, that means you're successful. And if a man says that I'm just doing a freelance work, or I'm doing some kind of creative work, it kind of I don't know. I mean, I have observed it. It kind of reduces down the credibility or the perception of how worthy they are of providing. I'm using that specifically, this word providing. So, Richard, is it because of how men have been conditioned in the society, not only parents or families, maybe friends, or maybe in the education system, right since their childhood?
Yeah, I think you're onto something here because it is true. Okay, yeah. Oh, look, he drives a nicer car. He has a business. He owns this. He's got three beautiful children, a beautiful wife, and wow, he's successful.
Yeah.
But the reality is, there's guys who they work at the landfill. Okay, so they're in the dirt and the garbage every day, who have 10 times the character. They provide for their family. They work hard, right? They make sure the kids get an education. They make sure they're fed. They make sure they have a roof over their head. A lot of times they do it better than the people with the money who are so focused on chasing the dream, chasing the status, they ignore their children. Okay, what I realized, and this is a big point, when everything's collapsing around me back in '08 and early '09, I woke up one day, had an epiphany. I said, I've got these 6 little kids, and you know what they care about? When I walk in the door. And they run and they attack me, they love me, they wanna see me. One of my youngest was 4, he's chasing me down the driveway crying when I was leaving, okay? So do you think they cared what kinda truck I drove, what kinda house we lived in, what I did for a living? They don't care about that. Right,
No.
and I realized at that moment, if I continue on this business first path, this is all that matters, which at that time it did, was making that be, stay going and not try a new thing. I said, "My kids are gonna grow up, and more is caught than taught with children." Okay? So you can tell them all the right things, they're only gonna do what they see. If they see me putting that before them, their mother, everything else, but it's all about the business, I'm going to ruin their futures. They're gonna have broken marriages, failed relationships, right? Maybe they'd be good at business, maybe, but really they would be like, "I don't wanna have a business because my dad could never be around. I don't wanna be that dad." Right? I don't want to be that man. So when we look at that, that was a huge epiphany for me. And I literally went and I burned all my uniforms in a fire pit in the backyard. I burned them all. I decided I will never be owned by my business again. That was a turning point. I am a man, I'm a provider, I'm a protector, I'm the priest of my family. I'm these things. This is what matters. It doesn't matter what the income generator is. Right? That's irrelevant. What you do is irrelevant. It's the internal. So my belief in what I am from a masculine standpoint can transfer wherever I'm at. It goes with me. I'm not tied to the job doesn't make me a better man. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I mean, that is so, so powerful, Richard. So powerful. Um, for I don't know, for many listeners, it's going to be a very emotional, you know, some emotional words in there. Um, that is really, really powerful, and it definitely reminds personally me that masculinity, it is often linked to doing rather than just being. And I think hearing you, many listeners, they will be reflecting on how manhood can be expansive rather than what society tells us. And this also brings me to thinking about it. So you, because you have been a champion boxer, you have a black belt as well. I want to go into a bit of the physical aspects of manhood or
Love it.
masculinity. Uh-huh. Yeah. So there are often like in for feminine also there are some popular standards. And I think in manhood or masculinity also there's a lot of physical expectations.
Mhm.
What's your thought on that?
So I think there should be, right? One of my things is I'm a protector, right?
Uh-huh.
Now there's a lot of ways to protect, but physical is a big part of it. Okay. I work
Yep.
out 5 days a week. I still hit the bag a lot. I train. Okay. So there's a man named Victor Marx wrote a book called Dangerous Gentlemen. Okay.
Okay.
And my that's one of those things that I am and I want to be. Okay. I'm a gentleman, but if things go bad, I'm
Even
dangerous.
dangerous, yes.
I'm going to protect in a lot of different ways. I have a large skill set. Okay, over decades of training and everything else. Okay, I don't ever stop. So for me, for men, I think it's important. It doesn't mean you have to be the master of 5 martial arts and a boxer, all this stuff. No, but you need to know some basics. You also need to have the air or the aura of I'm a protector. People don't question if I'm a protector. Okay, they know, like, just get behind Richard. You'll be okay. Okay, because that's what I am. I'm a Marine, right? That's what we do. My son now is a Marine, right? Doing great things. And it's just that that ability to have the masculine aspect, which means you do hard things. So it's definitely in the physical. So I train hard. My workouts aren't, I don't go walk on the treadmill. Okay, I'm hitting the bag hard. I'm doing battles and room, very energetic, high output, drain the tank exercises and workouts because I thrive in that and I feel good. And then the rest of my day is amazing. But on the same thing, I want to do hard things. I don't do the same thing all the time because I need to personally challenge myself from a physical aspect. Even as I get older now, I have a beautiful wife. I have beautiful kids. They're all in their late teens now, early 20s, but they know that if they need me, I'm there and I'm the guy who'll take care of stuff, right? But I've also trained them, trained my son to box. He's a Marine now. Okay, my other kids, same thing. My daughters learned how to fight. Okay, so
Wow.
we got to train them in that. And I don't mean they're going out and trying to beat people up, but there's a confidence that you carry. You don't
Yes.
ever have to like trade hands, as they say, right? But the way you walk and the way you carry yourself, because you've been there, that's the difference. Here's the thing, like people will say, because they'll see me, they don't know me, and they'll ask one of the first thing they'll go, either they'll say Marine, and they're like, yeah, or they'll say military, and I go, yeah, and they go Marine, I go, yeah. And I've been out for 30 some years.
Okay.
Okay. So like why do they still attach that to me? Because there's an assumption, there's a way I carry myself and keep myself, that lends to that. Right. So
Absolutely.
I think it's really important. Again, you don't have to be Mr. Universe, all this kind of stuff, but the ability to do hard things, carry heavy weights, pick up heavy things and put them down,
Mhm.
right? Because here's what I say. You're always training for two. And what I mean by that is if something goes wrong at the house, you got a two-story house, the place catches on fire, can you carry your wife down the stairs on your shoulder, out of the house, down there? Maybe you got to run a quarter mile with her. Can you do that? Can you do that with your kids? Or you're going to have a grabber, you can have a heart attack and fall over because you're unfit and unhealthy, right?
Mm.
You have a responsibility for others. That protector is for others. It's not for yourself. Okay. I'm there to protect others as obviously myself, but it's my family, right? But can you do that from a physical standpoint? Think about that because a lot of people go up one flight of stairs carrying a briefcase and they're huffing and puffing. All right. And your wife, I guarantee you, weighs more than your briefcase. Okay. Or your, whatever that is. So that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah. I absolutely love that, Richard. Absolutely love that. Um, I think um, looking at the current, kind of what is being portrayed or trying to portray around gender. Um, I think there's definitely a clear distinction between the masculine and feminine energy in there, whether it's physical or in any other aspects. But from the perspective of masculinity, I think I so much agree with you. I so much agree with you, and not only from physical aspect, but also from a mental fitness aspect as well. So we'll
Hundred
definitely, yeah,
hundred
yeah.
percent on that. Yeah, the mental because fitness, I talk about this a lot. Yeah, there's the physical aspect, there's nutritional aspect, but the mental fitness.
Yeah.
This is what gets you through. The physical, I know guys who look super fit, I can crush them because mentally they can't keep up.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? I can break them down physically. I can break them down because they don't have the mental fortitude to push through and not quit.
Mm.
A lot of people got quit in them. And one thing I train my children is quitting is disgraceful. We don't quit. You can suffer, you can shake, you can fall down, you can do all that. It's the quitting that we don't tolerate. You're going to fail. Failure, totally okay. Right? That's a learning step. That's a part of the process. It's the
Mm.
quitting. Like, I'm just not going to do it. What do you mean? I had a girl, quick story. We have big
Mhm.
cross country races, right? So a 3 mile race, and the girls are running. I don't know who this girl was. All I know is we're 30 yards from the finish line. Okay. And she like falls down and she's crying and she's on her knees. And I'm like, I'm standing. I'm like, no one said. I started just barking at her. Get on your feet. Get up. It's 30 yards. Bro, I don't care. Vomit on yourself. And I'm talking to her this way, and I made her go all the way to the finish line. I don't know who she was. I'm not her coach. I got my own team. Right. I'm like, and people are like, dude, you're the meanest. I go, I'm not mean. Okay. That girl will never forget this moment. She crossed the finish line. That's going to change her life.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hope. Right? She knows that you're not done. I don't care what you feel like. You're not dead. Can you take a breath? You're in the fight. Continue and cross that line. Crawl. I don't care what crawl. It's pull yourself on your belly. I don't care, but you cross that line. And that'll be one of the greatest accomplishments of your life to this point. You're like a 17-year-old. Like no one's done that for you. They're all feeling bad. I don't feel bad for you. I want you to cross that finish line so you can have the most unbelievable sense of accomplishment in your life. And that's what men bring to the game. That ability to push through that. Yeah, we need compassion and empathy and all that good stuff, but we also need to be able to drive and push through pain and suffering and make that happen.
Totally. 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 Yeah. Personally, I absolutely agree with that. No doubt in there. No doubt in there, Richard. Okay, and you talk about balancing the five pillars: faith, family, finances, fitness, and friendships.
Yeah.
Um, we have covered a bit about fitness, but I would love to talk about faith, family, and finances and friendships as well. Now, traditionally, masculinity it often focuses on only two aspects in there: finances and physical strength. So, Richard, how do you redefine balance for men who feel trapped in those old models or frameworks?
Yeah. So the five F's: faith, family, finance, fitness, and friendship. So here's the struggle, especially people if they own businesses. There are a lot of different situations. People know they work a lot, right? That tends to consume them. And if you balance isn't what people think it is, it's not
Mhm.
equal parts of everything. That's not balance. You're never going to have that. That doesn't exist. So you need to put that out of your mind first. Okay.
Mhm.
What balance is there's a consistent percentage given to each. Okay. And they're not the same. Mine, faith is first for a reason for me. That's the most important thing. My
Mhm.
relationship with the Lord is what's the most important thing above my family, above everything else. That's number one, right? So that's it has a large percentage, right? Family is next. And in family, there's an order. It's my wife and then my children. My children do not come before my wife. If my wife and I are having a conversation and one of my kids runs up and starts interrupting us, I'm like, whoa, we don't do that. Okay, your mother and I, we're gonna finish this and we'll be with you in a minute. So just stand and we'll finish our thing. Okay, now what do you because I'm not raising little tyrants who just think they can come and break into, right? So there's an order. Okay. The world is
Discipline.
built with order, right?
Mhm.
So we want to have that. And then from there, so that's family, right? And I love them. I love all of them is very important to me. I want to dedicate time to them, everything else, whatever that percentage looks like at the time, right? Because there's different seasons in life. And then you go to the finance. Now, yeah, well, we're excuse me, we're providers. We get money, but do we? I'll tell you in America, like people are financially illiterate and I'll put myself in the same category. I was that way forever. Like they don't know what to do with their money except waste it. They spend it frivolously. They eat out all the time. They don't have a plan for their money. They don't have a plan for their future that money is a really big part of, or should be. So we have to be fit in finance. We have to understand, we have to make a plan because there's a thing called Parkinson's law that if your money doesn't have a place to go, it'll evaporate, right? You'll just spend it and you're like, where'd my money go? Like a lot of people don't know where it went. Well, you ate out 7 times last week. That was all, $100, $200, whatever, So like we really have to pay attention to that and be very deliberate on that. And we talked about fitness, so I'll kind of skip over that. We did that a lot. Again, really important. But then friendships. Here's your next thing where a lot of people drop the ball, and men especially. Okay,
Mhm.
men are really bad at the friendship thing. And what I mean by that is I have different circles, right? So I've got a very small circle of like what I call my trench buddies, guys who have my six, guys who will die for me, who'll do anything for me. And there's 2 of them. Okay. So it's a really small my standing joke in the family with my kids always like, well, if I have all my friends on one hand and I lose 3 fingers, I still have all my friends. Okay. So it's just I'm like, and my kids kind of make fun of me, but I'm like, I'm good. I have other people I know. I have another ring, another circle that's a little bit, that's close, but not all the way in. And then you've got acquaintances and people in business and all that stuff, right? So we have to understand who's in those circles. That's the friendship part that people get mixed up. They just think, oh yeah, we play video games together, or we go to the bar, or we golf together. No, I'm talking about the ones you can sit and have a deep, like my best friend, we literally can hang out for 3 days straight. I mean, go to his home and we have a conversation for 3 days. Okay, so on all things in the world. I mean, it's deep on different subjects, everything else. We've climbed mountains together. We've been on rowing teams together. We've suffered together. We've done everything, right? So those are friends that I keep and that I don't look forward to the day they're no longer here. Okay, that'll be a really, really sad day, right? But it's just a tight circle. So that the friendship aspect, that's how I kind of define it. As far as the balance, again, what percentage of each of those? We all have our priorities, right? We all choose what we do the most, right? And from a business standpoint, what I tell people, if your business is a hot mess, meaning it needs you every day, all day to run things so it succeeds, I go, you don't get to have the 5 Fs. That business will pull you in like a mistress. It'll want your time. You're going to think about it every moment you're not there. You're thinking about it because who's not going to show up tomorrow? Who's not going to do this? What do I got to do about that? And it destroys everything else. Business ownership has destroyed a lot of families.
Yeah.
So again, part of being a man is understanding that, what's your role? Where you at in the family? Again, faith, family, finance, and fitness and friendship. So you put all that together.
That is such a, I think it's so encouraging because I think women are often encouraged to build emotional support systems, self-help groups, or um, uh, friendships. Um, while men, they are more expected to tough it out alone. But I just want to bring in listeners, focus on the aspect of friendships because I think, Richard, your take on this, it can really shift how men see connection, true, authentic, deep connection, which is not only restricted to all the, surface level interactions, going to bar or playing our video games or, all that, going for sports and stuff. And before we wrap up, okay, this is more from a, female lens. Now, some women, Richard, feel that masculinity, even when redefined, it still would center men's experiences and sideline women's struggles. So, do you think redefining masculinity can truly benefit everyone, or is it just another way of keeping the focus on men?
Yeah, this is very, we'll call it culturally relevant, okay,
Yeah.
today, because there's a battle. There's a serious battle going on. Here's the thing. If I'm the things I just talked about, faith, family, right, finance, friendships, fitness, if I'm all those things, you know what else I'm able to do? Love my wife completely. Okay,
Mm,
my spouse, my family. Okay, it's not. I'm the head of my family, but my wife isn't behind me. She's next to me. Okay.
mm,
She brings a completely different skill set to marriage. Okay. And this is whether you're female and with the husband, it goes both ways. I have to lead that way, right? We do this stuff together. Yes, I have the executive decision, right? I'm leading the family, but my wife respects that 100% because that's my role. I mean, a lot of people don't want to make decisions. Okay? They don't want their responsibility to actually make decisions where we're going to go, what we're going to do, how we're going to raise our children, that kind of stuff. But that leadership, if people find I was just called a true man, okay, that balance, that ability to love, okay, there's a thing called the warrior poet, right?
Yeah.
So you got to have both, right? That's John Lovell, has a Warrior Poet Society. You have to have both. I'm a writer. I can write poetry. I can write screenplays. I write books, right? I have a love of art. I'm an internationally recognized still sculptor, and I'm a boxer and a marine and a black belt.
Right.
Okay, so as a man, you have to go into these areas and you
Mm,
have to work on them. Okay, you're not just going to be magically creative. Okay. And I'm not saying you have to be. What I'm saying is you need a balance and it's the hard and the soft together. If you
mm,
can't put the two together, you can't serve your family well. Women are obviously they're attracted to the protector side, right?
mhm,
And that's
mhm.
that's initial. It's like a man attracted to an attractive woman. That's not a challenge. Okay. You look really good. I like you. Okay, but what's the next thing, right? Like, who are you? What are you? How do you think? What do you do? Are you in this for a long? I've been married 26 years now. Okay, it's amazing. Like this long, and like we're in that. My wife is there. Okay, and I'm there. Okay, completely devoted, and that takes work, which is another thing a lot of people are afraid of is the work. I told a newlywed the other day, a friend of mine, actually their son. I said he just got married. I go, remember, marriage is work. I go, marriage is work forever. I go, "You're never done working, okay? There's no autopilot. It's always gonna be a challenge, always working, always courting your wife, right?
Mm.
You got the ring on her finger, it's not over. It's just beginning. You have to maintain that stuff, right? So it's mindset, right? It's really thinking about what is a real man? That's a real man. The guy who can have the balance on both sides, if you wanna talk about balance, have that protector, that warrior, but also have the poet. It's a beautiful combination.
It is. It is. And it's a reminder that healthier masculinity, it isn't just for men. It impacts families, workplaces, communities. It's not a competition for whose story matters the most. It's about, I think, collective healing in there, whether it's
Yeah.
man or woman. So, Richard, if our listeners they would like to connect with you, what would be the best way?
Go to sharpenthespearcoaching.com. That'd be the best.
Super. Listeners, what I'll do for you is I'll have all the details in the show notes. So just refer to them along with this episode on your favorite podcast platform. And to conclude with, all I would like to say, I mean, as a woman, specifically, I know my lens is different, but I also know that when men expand what it means to be masculine, everyone benefits, whether it's families, communities, or our future generations. Conversations about masculinity, they aren't easy, but they are necessary. And what I am taking from today is that it is masculinity isn't about losing or winning, it's about evolving. So, Richard, thank you so much for this beautiful, so empowering conversation around masculinity. Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure being here.
Super. And to all my listeners, I invite you to reflect. What stories about masculinity have shaped you, whether you're a man or a woman? And are they still serving you, or is it time to rewrite them? So, thank you for being a part of Mind Over Masculinity. Until next time, keep questioning, keep evolving, and remember your story matters. Thank you.